Looks like we're back. Pod 169. Bullish Bitcoin banter and bullshit brought to you by Mr. All In, aka the Trillion Dollar Man, and myself, Sir Neverlook, aka the Excellence of Execution. For regular viewers and listeners, we are not joined by Dr. Evil 10%, aka the People's Champ, or Mrs. No Show, aka No Show. Still no show. What's going on, man?
Man, I'm getting a bit annoyed by some Bitcoiners actually,
Hmm.
just
What have they
because
been saying?
people are getting a little bit bored of the price and stuff. And last time I checked, which is right now, we're at 95k,
Yeah, yeah.
so close to that 100k. This year is very likely going to be one hell of a fucking bullish year. And yeah, I don't know. I had my brother around on the weekend. He seemed
Mm,
frustrated about the price, and I know we've been at 100k, and I know it's a little bit samey, but come on. What
yeah,
100k guy? We're basically around like we were at 97, I think, when he was around. We're now at 95. It takes another week or two, and we're probably back to 100. And once we get past that, like this is the year we've been waiting for. So we're at this point. If the cycle continues, which Jesus Christ, we've got a million stories about to come up that are so freaking bullish. There's so many people buying Bitcoin. All the news is so fucking positive. The only surprise really is that we're not at 200k plus already, but
yeah.
it just feels like we're a coiled spring about to freaking pop off. And the way that like long-term Bitcoiners that I'm talking to now, um, it seems to be almost you'd think we're at 20k. We're at 95 fucking K, boys. Like this is insane. It still is insane, like that we're at that kind of price.
Yeah.
And and people are frustrated and to be fair, it's rightly so. We should be a lot higher. The amount of positive news that we've had over the last 12 months it's insane that we haven't pushed much higher. But man, just a little bit of patience. Like this what Bitcoin
Mm,
always tells you. It's all this positive news comes, all this like big bullish buying happens, but I know Bitcoin always just finds its way to go, not yet. Don't think you've quite earned it. There'll be some people out there that don't quite believe. We'll let them sell first. And then just when the last person sells a bit of Bitcoin, they're like, yeah, I bought it 90k, I'll sell it 95, to get my 5%. I'll take that because it's probably going down now because it can't get back over 100k. Boom. A week will go by, we'll be at 250k and it'll blow everyone's freaking mind. And all those people that sold will be like, oh, I'll wait for the dip. They're back into that kind of
they're back into that.
and whereas us hodlers will just be like, fucking told you. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I just think it's one of those where the world's still collapsing, the world's still printing money, Bitcoin still TikTok, every 10 minutes there's a new block. Fucking calm your horses. I know everybody wants to get out, and we've been talking about retirement a lot in our chat and stuff, and it's all for very, very good reason.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
sometimes just a little bit of patience. We've got the best performing asset of our generation. It will continue to be so. Patience.
I definitely think this, and I've said this so many times, but you just mentioned there a figure of like 200, and I think that when it finally explodes, may not be this cycle, but when it finally explodes, it'll explode way beyond our imagination in terms of what we actually can fathom. And I know everyone's thinking about the milli, but I think that it'll just go beyond the milli and we'll just be like, oh my gosh, because that's what always happens with certain inventions and things like this. We cannot fathom the world in which it will get to because no one, when it was $1,000, ever thought that it would get to 100. It's just like ludicrous to even think that.
Yeah.
But here it is just hovering just below it. Even if you just say like 95, it's like, well, yeah, it'll never get there. Not in my lifetime, but it will. It
Yeah,
will.
yeah,
And so I do think that it will happen. And when it does, yeah, it's just make sure you hodl.
yeah. I just it's all about timing, isn't it? Because it's one of them where when I got into Bitcoin, I thought it was going to take 10 years to get
Mm,
$10,000. And I went
yeah,
all in to go, I'm fine waiting on the sidelines for a decade. And at some point in the future, boom, that's me out the game.
yeah,
It happened in 6 months. So I was just lucky. My timing couldn't have been better. It was because it was around that £1,000, $1,000 mark for like about 4 years. It had hit a peak and then gone down to 200. It was back to 1,000. And so I got in on that. I basically missed 4 years of bear market, um, and just basically rebought the previous top largely, and then on the way up. Just got lucky, but yeah, but then yeah, I thought it was going to take a decade to get there, and when I zoom back now, it's nearly taken a decade, to be fair, to get to 100K.
yeah.
Yeah, so and now it's like, oh yeah, you were lucky. Yeah, well, I did wait the decade in the end. Because I
Yeah,
still
yeah,
have the
yeah.
majority of the Bitcoin that I bought back then. I still have it. It's just I thought we'd only be at 10K now.
Mm,
That was my original investment thesis, and I thought, because when I looked around various different assets, it was, well, what else has a better chance of 10xing over this time
yeah,
period? And you just get, because a 10x over 10 years is spectacular, by the way. It's not to be sniffed at. If any financial advisor has that asset in their portfolio, they would be in the top 1% of financial advisors, because fucking none of them have it. They all just put it all in the S&P 500, right? And just get their
yeah,
10% a year, and just track inflation. So if anyone has a 10x that can do it over a decade, that is top 1% of investing. If you can find it that happens inside a year, well, you're probably in the top 0.1% now. And guess what? That's Bitcoin. And we're probably going to do it again. And
yeah.
it's yeah, it's yeah, it's interesting. But because obviously I think the problem is we've probably been talking about a million for fucking so long. And it will get there. It's just, man. As we always say, though, it's we're basically living through the next evolution of money. It only happens once every 500 years. Where what are we? Jesus, what are we now? What is it? 2009, wasn't it? So is it 16 years now?
Yeah, 16, yeah. Jan 3rd, 2009.
Yeah,
So
so we're
yeah.
16 years in to a 500 year cycle. It's they're probably the only problem with where we are is that it's so fucking early. But this is where all the
Yeah,
gains can be made. But 5 years here, 4 years there, it's nothing in a 500-year cycle, right? So and as we know as well, usually all the gains made in the first 50. So and then largely in the first 50 years, all the price appreciation happens on that asset. And then for the next 450 years, it's largely stable. It largely becomes virtually a stable coin because it's a really good store of value, and it just becomes money. And you don't want money with its price going up 10%, down 30%, all that kind of stuff. You don't want that. And obviously once everybody's got their allocation of gold or their allocation of Bitcoin, there are no more buyers now. It's just the allocation has happened,
mm,
and now people just trade that asset between themselves, right? And you want that money to stay stable, and that's all that's happening in Bitcoin. So we probably have, what would it be? Is it 46 years? No, 36 years. No, 34 years if it's 16. Jesus
yeah,
Christ, I've
yeah.
even said I'm really bad at maths on this pod whenever I'm doing it, and I've just freaking done it then. Um, so we've got 34 years of uh, price fluctuation where we find the value of what Bitcoin should be. And
Oh, you just stopped there.
oh yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
my
yeah,
internet or
yeah.
your internet, but I'm recording, so you stopped. But
Okay, okay.
yeah, so I just think people need to chill out. Having said that, though, we have had a load of drama in Bitcoin land. Have you seen?
Yeah, No, I haven't. So this is again, like this is the purpose of the pod, is to condense what's gone on in the week or weeks between roundup. You don't worry about what's going on because we're here to tell you what's going on. So let's start off with the OP return drama.
Yeah, I love how new you are to this because it's the op return, yeah. Op return drama.
Yeah, yeah, I've
And
never come across this. This is new to me for sure.
yeah, so I'll just share my screen so people can see it. But
Mm,
essentially, the op return has been very contentious for a while because it's where Taproot introduced the ability to add ordinals and NFTs on Bitcoin. It used to be a very short amount of space that you could use, and it became longer. And it was supposed to be just for efficiency and to be able to actually make blocks smaller. But there was a consequence that it allowed ordinals and NFTs to be baked into the op return. So what someone introduced basically, if I just go to this one, is that, and again, we actually probably need a properly technical person on this pod. I keep asking um, my co-founder at Bitcoin Lessons to join, but he keeps just being obtuse or non-committal on his joining because this is the perfect story for him to. I'd love to ask him questions about what this means really, but essentially the Bitcoin core devs wanted to remove the op return limit.
okay.
It's basically arbitrary, so you don't technically, apparently, this is a non-technical person talking really right now, is that there isn't really one anyway, and you can put as much stuff in there as you want. So the core devs went, should we just remove this limit because people couldn't go over it anyway? So let's just make it official that we can just go over it. And that caused a huge amount of drama on Bitcoin Twitter because suddenly people thought, well, hold on, if you're removing the limit of how much data can be stored in the op return, that not only opens the door to a whole load of spam and abuse, it's almost like embracing NFTs on Bitcoin. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Because we don't need that space. But their argument is, well, it's there anyway. We've allowed it anyway. So just this is just formalizes the fact that you can do it.
Hmm.
And so they made this proposal, and then a load of Bitcoiners went on the GitHub and basically started commenting on this GitHub PR. Um, so push request or pull request to make this change. And what quickly happened was the admins of the Bitcoin GitHub locked this PR, banned some Bitcoiners from commenting, and it all just kicked off because suddenly now it's, oh, we're not having free speech in Bitcoin. And
Uh,
pretty much the entire community was divided, where half was going, well, you're not technical, so you don't have the right to
yeah.
comment on a GitHub code change. And then obviously there's a lot of people then went, well, just because I don't code doesn't mean I shouldn't be able to influence this, because provided I've understood it, which is, as I kind of largely like loosely explained it, which could well be wrong, by the way. But the way I understand it is the op return is already kind of undetermined at exactly how long it is. Ever since we introduced Taproot, you can put as much stuff in it as you want, which is why NFTs on Bitcoin came along. All they're looking to do is just go, oh, whatever, let's just say there's no limit because the limit doesn't really exist. Um, but then there's a load of people going, no, 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 but this encourages that behavior now. We're basically advertising that Bitcoin is a place that you can do NFTs on. and also it opens the ability to be able to span the network. And if you span the network, then it has a knock-on effect of how expensive it is to run a node. Because obviously at the moment you can fire up a node for like 99 quid, right? You can buy a Raspberry Pi and basically run a Bitcoin node. But
Yeah.
and where just comparing it to something that like one of the shit coins, say just grab Ethereum, for example, to run a node on Ethereum costs you like 100 grand because it's full of so much shit. The amount of
Mm.
memory and processing power you need to be able to run it, you basically need to be in the top 1% of people on the planet to be able to run a node. Whereas Bitcoin's supposed to be money of the people. So it should be as cheap as possible. Anyone should be able to run a node if they want to, and sign their own
They're
contract,
sufficient as
write
well.
their own
Yeah.
transactions. And the second you make the Bitcoin blockchain too big, you start cutting down the amount of people that can do that. So it's a big threat against Bitcoin. But it all just was a huge drama. Loads of people were blocking each other on Twitter. People were getting blocked from GitHub. Everyone just completely fell out over this. And I don't know, my 2 pence at the end of it was, dude, should we just not do it? Because it sounds like it's just a little bit contentious. It does seem to encouraging bad actors. And if anything, the fact that I must admit, I did think in my like small brain that the op return did still have a limit. So if anything, shouldn't we just enforce the limit, not just remove the fact that there isn't one? Because there should be one. Because we don't want the network to be spammed. And because it to send Bitcoin from one address to another, it doesn't need a huge
Mm.
limit in the op return. It never did. But what do you think? Have I explained it to a point where you can have an opinion or not?
No, you have explained it. They've got to avoid can't actually weigh in with you 2 pence, but I think most things, Bitcoin and obviously things like this, in terms of if we are going to make changes to the original, yes, mega technical. And when I think about it, I think about the book Inventing Bitcoin, which is a really good book I found to truly understand like the background of Bitcoin. But ultimately, I don't think that it's needed, even though it's always been there in terms of being able to put all of this stuff on. And the beauty of what for
The problem was
me
it
of
wasn't originally
Bitcoin.
there. We actually changed it.
Oh, okay, sorry.
The op return
But
did have a limit, and it was a fixed limit. But then Taproot essentially extended it because before that was one of the big things. We talked about Taproot a lot on this pod,
yeah, we did.
and we were all very supportive of it. And obviously we're non-technical, right? And we didn't foresee because I was just
No.
technical explanations as what was happening, and I just look at that and go, well, that's all great, all fantastic.
Yeah.
And then we
Yeah.
did it, and then a month later, Bitcoin ordinals get launched, a load of NFT, and then a
Mm,
load of NFTs suddenly are participating on Bitcoin, and you go, how the fuck's this happened? They're like, oh, when you did Taproot, it extended the
yeah.
op return limit, and now they can put links in and link out to fucking JPEG somewhere else. So suddenly Bitcoin's become a fucking NFT network. We'll go, shit, roll Taproot back. We don't want this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, we know you've done it now. It's done. And so we made this problem probably about, was it 3 years ago or something?
Yeah. Yeah. I think ultimately keeping Bitcoin simple. The beauty of what Satoshi did was he made it once and made it work. And obviously it was super easy and accessible. I say easy, to a certain extent. We don't need to overcomplicate it. So yeah, roll it back. Maybe once we were previously pro Taproot, and maybe now in hindsight it wasn't as good, or where we need to be. So yeah, maybe just cut it, and let's not have what we have right now clogging up the network.
Yeah. Well, I think ultimately what you're saying there is really like we all have Taproot, have all the benefits, but now that we know what they do with the op return extra space,
Or
let's
limit it.
limit it right down and make it
Yeah,
limit and try and stop NFTs getting shoved in there. And
yeah.
if that's not possible, then we need to see if we need to roll back the whole Taproot stuff. But the problem is you can't do this stuff, right? It's it's once you roll out a change on the network,
Uh,
it's another big change to roll it back, and all the risk comes back, right? Where
Classic, the
rolling
genie is
it
out of the
back,
bottle.
do you break anything now? Because suddenly, if you have an op return limit that you've allowed it to be big, if you roll that back, now suddenly all the transactions over the last 3 years become invalid. It breaks. So this is like it just shows the importance. It's not really, I mean, the option to roll Taproot back is not on the table. It's basically just going,
Yeah.
right, we caused a problem here. Op return basically is unlimited. So should we just advertise it's now unlimited as opposed to pretending it has a cap when it doesn't really?
Mm,
And yeah, so in reality, it's like I think it's largely a nothing burger, but it didn't have cause a lot of. I saw Bitcoiners that have been friends for a decade block each other this week.
ooh,
They have been going in,
ooh.
and sometimes it just makes me feel a bit grateful that I'm just outside chopping wood up, and I catch a little bit on my phone and go, "Do-" and I suddenly start seeing this stuff. And I'm like, is this because I'm always on high alert for is someone going to break Bitcoin? Right? Are
Yeah.
we about to break Bitcoin? And because if we are, like I need to get out and I need to tell a lot of people that I've told to get in to get out. It's just so I see this stuff. I'm like, oh shit, are we breaking Bitcoin? Are we about to break it? Is this, I said we're 16 years into a 500-year cycle. Do we end on 16? Did we not make it to 17? And I just follow a couple of threads and read a couple of comments, send a couple of messages to a few people, and I go, it's just
When
a
you
lot,
say
a
this,
lot of very, very passionate people arguing very vehemently about something that I think in reality doesn't really matter either way. I mean, the thing that got people to go was the censorship on GitHub. I mean, that's what really
mm,
escalated it, is the fact that something contentious got put forward that a small minority thought was very bad. And when they voiced that concern on GitHub, they got banned or blocked from commenting on um, that thread anymore, and potentially from ever commenting on GitHub um, kind of code ever again under that account. And that was the problem. And I think there were some people
yeah,
that done the blocking that just went, deal with it. It is what it is. And you suddenly realize, oh shit, the GitHub on Bitcoin, that is a threat vector.
yeah, yeah,
Because you suddenly realize, well, hold on, who are the admins on the Bitcoin GitHub? And it obviously is the Bitcoin core devs. And you go, but what if those guys get co-opted to make
mm,
damage? In this instance, I don't think they are. I think they largely are acting sensibly because I think essentially because this became a political issue and went kind of viral in Bitcoin Twitter land, there's a lot of people, probably like, people like me probably, just suddenly appearing on GitHub, never submitted a single piece of code in GitHub in the entirety of GitHub, never mind the Bitcoin GitHub, because I'm not a
yeah,
developer. So, and then suddenly I'm commenting on a bit of code on GitHub on Bitcoin going, do not do this. And they're probably, to be fair to them, rightfully going, well, we've checked your account. You've never pushed a single piece of code to a single suppository. So your opinion is invalid here.
Yeah,
And that's happened to, I think, to some Bitcoiners. And like, how fucking dare you say my opinion's invalid? But
yeah.
in developer land, it is.
It
If you
is.
if I was commenting on any piece of code in any other company or piece of software around the globe, and they check my GitHub profile, and I'm going, do not do this. You're going to break all the software if you do it. And they checked my profile and went, you haven't coded a single piece in your entire fucking life, dude. I'm like, yeah, but trust my opinion on this one. They're gonna go, nah, like nah. Thanks, thanks for coming, but no. And then if I continue to post and go, how dare you stop, eventually they're gonna go, look, dude, you're just
Lock.
nuts. Yeah, and I think that's
Yeah.
just what happened. But I think it just got a lot of people a little bit scared to go, well, what if someone did submit something on GitHub that was really damaging to Bitcoin? Like really damaging, like, oh, we're going to increase the supply of Bitcoin from 21 million to 22. And we all just went in and went, holy shit, stop. No. And they went, thanks for your opinion, but you've never submitted to GitHub before, block.
Yeah.
And that's when it gets a bit scary, isn't it? And you go, well, who are these admins? Who controls the code base? And what's the threat vectors here?
But it's funny you mention it as well. It's like, have we broken Bitcoin? Because chat, this genuinely something that I regularly think about. Like, is this the day? Is this the day that all the countless hours that we have spent on Bitcoin, is this the day where it all just comes down, crashing down, and everybody that said, I told you so, gets to say
I
exactly
know,
that?
yeah.
Because I know that they're dying to say it, dying to say it. And even though, things are safe, or they want the quantum computing to be true, and or something like this, in terms of a developer releases some sort of code that then infects the entire network, and it all comes crashing down, and we're like, nah, that won't happen, but it could. And I genuinely do think about that, or something just happening, and I just look at the price one day, even myself as Sir Neverlook, and I just think there's an error here, and it's zero.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Well,
then of course my phone's blowing up like yours, no doubt. Of, you told us it was okay. Listen, this is sound money, and all of the good things, and yeah, I just don't know how I would come back from that,
uh,
because like you, I'm all in. I am all in.
yeah, we'd have to go back to the guaranteed 20% loss on our fiat
It,
every year.
exactly, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah, I just need the hope that there is part of it where I do realize, yeah, I just need the hope that there's a better way. And
yeah.
but yeah, but at the moment, this is of course, the way I always try to phrase it, even in my own mind, right? And it's probably an important thing to make sure we tell others that, the odds on Bitcoin getting to 1 million at the moment, the market rates that at about 9.5% because we're at $95,000. So the odds on it getting to 1 million is 9.5%, which means there's a 90.5% chance that it doesn't, right?
Mm,
And however, that assumes that the entire market has the same information. And as we know, as stock pickers, in our previous life before Bitcoin, where you just go, oh, why pick stocks and investigate and start reading company reports, just buy Bitcoin. It's this simple. Um, the market is wrong on a lot of things. As we realized when we were reading, small technical companies, um, some of them are undervalued, some are over. Not the entire market doesn't have all the information. They haven't spent the time to research every single company, and Yeah, that they get the values wrong sometimes. So in my
Yeah.
opinion, the odds on Bitcoin hitting 1 million are far higher than 9.5%. But currently, the market as a whole is that's what it's rating it as. And some of that 90% not getting to 1 million is the code base is infected and somebody breaks Bitcoin from the inside. Like not, and obviously there's a million other factors.
Mm,
Somebody suddenly going onto the gold standard and everyone embracing gold again, or some big country suddenly stopping the money printer and whatever, right? There's a million other global factors that can happen. But yeah, but the way I also then would reframe that, if you go back 5 years, the odds on Bitcoin getting to 1 million was 2%. And if you go back
hmm
another couple of years, the odds on Bitcoin getting there was 0.1%. So, when I got in, it was 0.1% chance, right? And I'm like, all in, baby. And then, so guess what? This is when, again, the message comes back around, which is you get Bitcoin at the price you deserve. As,
Yeah.
as Bitcoin gets closer and closer to reaching its destination, the returns are less. So the more risk you
Yeah.
take on, the more reward you also benefit from. So, but with risk, obviously, these risks can happen. They can. So it is important to remember that there's no guarantees in life. You know, the good old saying of the only guarantee in life is death and taxes.
Yeah.
They're the only guarantees. You're getting guaranteed the government will tax the fuck out of you, and at the end of it, you die. Right? They're the only guarantees. Everything else is a risk-adjusted gamble. So place your money, place your bets, fucking spin that wheel. And I'm thinking that wheel is going to land on a big fat B, baby. But there's no guarantees. So, like I say to everybody that comes in, only risk what you're willing to lose, or only hold the fiat you're willing to lose. But there's no guarantees, and hold for 5 years plus. And also, there's no, you might be wrong, but
Yeah.
but keep reading about Bitcoin, and eventually you'll because I normally tell people like don't put more than like 1 to 5% in based on what I'm telling you. But then if you read about it enough and start going down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, I fully expect you to get as close to a 100% allocation quite quickly. And that's on you now, isn't it? I told you to do 1 to 5.
Uh,
I broke the seal. Now it's on you to go the
I've
rest.
gone so far. Yeah. Yeah.
And normally
Yeah.
people
I've
do.
gone so far.
The current system is so fucking broken. Why would you invest in that broken system that is literally designed to work against you? Whereas Bitcoin is designed to work for you. And yeah, of course we can fuck it up. But I really, literally for the sake of humanity, I really hope we don't fuck this up.
Have we ever spoken about the book, The Psychology of Money?
I don't think so, no.
This guy called Morgan Housel, and me and me and Dr. Evil 10% were talking about him because I messaged it, the fact that he was on Diary of a CEO. But basically, he's very cautious in terms of, the stuff that he does. The book is good, but he holds a lot of cash. And, where we stand on in terms of like cash, it's like, but he's holding this cash similar to like the Warren Buffett process of he knows something's going to go wrong. Doesn't know what, doesn't know when, but he knows it's going to go wrong because that's what's happened over history and time. And when he does, he's there ready to capitalize on things. And
You're ready to buy the dip.
yeah, and I've always been like, well, not always, but more so recently been like, I'm not holding anything, no cash. Like if I have an emergency, I'll either sell or I use my credit card to cover it, like real big emergencies. Everything else, it's being tied up. It's going straight in. BTC. It's allocated. It's in there. If there's a dip, there's a dip. I haven't got the extra I used to because that's how I've got to where I've got to by having the cash on hand. Whereas now I'm at like back to square one. But I do think that maybe, yeah, holding more allocation just for the something might go wrong might have to happen.
Yeah, don't worry, man. If anything even gets close, the good thing about Bitcoin, right, is this is actually a really good point because I realize now, based on what we've just said, we might have scared a lot of people. The good thing is that when a change gets submitted, Bitcoin's changes take a shit long time to
They
happen.
do.
Someone proposes a change, it gets put on GitHub, and then that's to be the majority of people have to agree to it before it even gets pushed into a live
Absolutely.
chain.
Yeah.
Even then, it takes months. So let's just say it's not an op return change, right? Which is by the by. It's not going to, it's not meaningful really. People got very het up about it, but I think, at least in my technical brain, um, it doesn't really matter. Let's say someone did push or proposed a a change that we knew would break Bitcoin, like change the supply.
Mm,
We would know months ahead, months, because Bitcoin is so slow to change, which is good. You don't want money to make fast changes, right? If you go into shitcoin land, someone can propose a change and it might get rolled out tomorrow, right? And they might have a vote,
mm,
but Vitalik has 99% of the votes, so he just goes, agreed. So the entire community can go no, but he just votes with his 99% yes. And the change happens and he pushes it live tomorrow. And suddenly now there's 10 million more Bitcoin. And you go, holy that can't happen in Bitcoin land. It can only happen in shitcoin land. So if anything like this was to ever happen, and let's just say the CIA, right, had a load of our core devs with a gun to their head, and then they basically went, make this change. We know it breaks Bitcoin and we want to break Bitcoin. And we know you guys are the decision makers, so you're all gonna vote for it. We'd all see it. It's all live, it's
yeah.
all public. We'd see it on day one. There would be outrage. I can guarantee there would already be a load of additional developers go, these guys have gone nuts. We're gonna have to, they're gonna push this live because we can already see the support it's got. We're gonna fork over here. And so basically we would make our decisions well before any of this happened, right? It's so the fact that Bitcoin is slow to be changed is a USP. It's it's a feature, not a bug.
Yeah.
So basically don't worry about it. I know I probably worried you, but don't worry about
You did. You did.
it. And if anything like this ever happened, well, the beautiful thing about Bitcoin Twitter, I would know within an hour and I'd have probably evaluated it and dug into it within 2 hours. And if it's bad, I'd have told you by 2 hours and 1 minute. And so that's 2 hours and 1 minute into about a 3 month cycle.
Yeah.
So if Bitcoin's about to go down the toilet, because that's the thing, like, genuinely, I think that's the only way Bitcoin can fail because it is the best. It's the best version of money that we've got. And the only way it can fail is if we break it from within. And if we even look like we're going to break it from within, it's got to be public. It's got to
Yeah.
go on the GitHub. So it's all public. We all see it. They can't push it secretly.
And I do also think, yeah, like with most things and like with most companies, especially when they get so big, is ultimately the only person or thing that can stop them is them. And I think that Bitcoin will be the one that stops Bitcoin, nothing else. There'll be no regulation or anything else. It'll be Bitcoin that stops Bitcoin.
Exactly. Right. Enough of that. Let's move into some positive news. Right. Well, I say positive, it's a little bit mixed. We'll get
Yeah, yeah,
so we got Jack Mallers.
yes.
He's obviously the CEO of Strike already, but he's about to be the CEO. of a SoftBank, Cantor, and Tether, Bitfinex,
Yeah.
multi-billion-dollar Bitcoin acquisition vehicle.
Yeah.
Um, so essentially, this company, I'm sure it's called 21. Yeah, it's called 21 Capital, and so he's become CEO. They're going to launch with 42,000 Bitcoin, which again is an incredible amount of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And so basically, what they're planning on doing is following the MicroStrategy model and basically just buying a shit ton of Bitcoin, being a publicly limited company, and allowing people to track the price of Bitcoin with their pensions, with their funds, or just with your normal money if you want, and um, and just make it a pure Bitcoin play. Because your MicroStrategy at the moment is a bit mixed, right? It's
Yes.
technically still a software company and they do some type of business analytics, which I've never really bothered to understand what the fuck they do, but they do some stuff. And but on the side, and I say on the side, which is now 99% of their business, they buy Bitcoin and kind of sell shares to fund it and or a load of complicated accounting. But it definitely looks like a gap in the market, right? Where MicroStrategy they're basically already a company, have been around for 30 years and have started this Bitcoin model. So fair play to these guys that have kind of gone, well, why don't we just set up a company that just does that? Because MicroStrategy's share price has gone up like 20 or 30x since they've started doing this. Like it's actually outpaced
Yeah.
the price of Bitcoin in the time that they've been doing this. So clearly there's money to be made. And well, you couldn't have picked a better CEO, right? It's probably like the wonder kid of Bitcoin. Shove him as CEO and basically sell a load of paper Bitcoin to a load of financial people that go, look, if you want exposure to the Bitcoin price and you don't want to go in an ETF, just buy 21. And we're not going to muddy the water with what our software sales are and all that kind of nonsense. We don't sell software. We buy Bitcoin and we hold Bitcoin. And if you want exposure, buy our stock. And then over the years, we'll dilute your stock and buy more Bitcoin. But don't worry, the
Yeah.
dilution that you get won't be as bad as the price appreciation. So you're going to be golden. So so yeah, there's been some interesting takes on this. So first off, there's been some great comparisons to MicroStrategy, which of course they dropped the micro on strategy, which it's probably quite apt. I just thought they shouldn't have changed it to strategy. They should have just put macro strategy instead of micro.
Yeah, yeah, that would have been a nice one actually, in
Yeah.
terms of macro strategy. And it's so funny you mentioned that you didn't necessarily know what MicroStrategy do because you're right. Like I haven't really looked into them as a business, even though um, Michael Saylor was the CEO for them for over like 20 plus years. But yeah, specializing in enabling businesses to analyze data, develop reports and dashboards. So
Yeah, I've
that's
read
what
that as well, and I still don't know what that means.
yeah, yeah.
It's one of them like,
Um,
what kind of dashboards? What kind of data?
yeah, what?
Is
Yeah.
it sales data? Is it product data? Is it accounting data? It just, yeah, it's just, I honestly think it's a fake fucking business. But, but yeah, so you can see, obviously, this is part of their investor deck, but 21, of course, gets 100% down the right, and then you've got MicroStrategy, and of course, MicroStrategy or strategy is a real business, right? So it needs to control its Bitcoin allocation. Is it Bitcoin native? Well, of course it's not. It wasn't set up as a Bitcoin company. When it was set up, Bitcoin didn't even exist. So is it a pure play? Not completely. Does it have an existing debt balance? It's only half. Insider ownership, purpose-built KPIs. Well, of course, a load of MicroStrategy's KPIs are built on running the business, not just buying Bitcoin. So I get it. 21 does have
Yeah.
quite a differentiated play on if you want exposure to Bitcoin, don't buy MicroStrategy, buy 21. So I kind of get it. But then we have some different takes on here. So here we are, is some tweets here, which basically is on the opposite side, right? So when I first saw this, I just thought this is great news, right? MicroStrategy getting some competition. We need another one. Jack Mallard's getting an IPO. Definitely the kind of person that deserves this type of role. Great face of a company. We're being co-opted. This is not winning. Wait, a dishonest Bitcoin company CEO. I'm not sure why he's called dishonest, but who's not the real CEO anymore. Okay, so I'm assuming maybe he
No,
got,
no, is
I'm not sure if he is still CEO of Strike, but who cries a lot on camera. Right, I've seen him cry once, so I think that's unfair. And it's part of one of the largest banking families in the world, is leading a stablecoin-backed Bitcoin treasury company. What a surprise. So
I'm not too sure about.
there's a hell of a lot of slander in that, right? A hell of a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
And but then straight away it kind of like, don't trust verify, right? So whenever I see that kind of stuff, I go, okay, well maybe my optimism was misplaced. I don't know. Is Jack who we think we are, or who we think he is? Not sure. Um, and yeah, and I think it does look like because Tether are investing heavily in this company, that this Tether will be a big part of it as well as Bitcoin. But that also makes sense because if you don't have Tether, then you need fiat. So basically, Tether is just a replacement for your fiat collateral. If you are trading in and out of Bitcoin, then you need to be out of the trade at some point. So you hold Tether. I get that, but I also can get that. Are we encouraging people to not self-custody Bitcoin? And that's a big point because
Yeah,
we've got Jack Mallers here, who is kind of the poster child of Bitcoin at the moment. Instead of launching a new hardware wallet, which we have later, by the way,
correct.
we've got him launching an IPO of a company that will sell you paper Bitcoin. And suddenly I went, oh, is this exciting anymore? I went, well, no, of course it's not. I don't give a shit about MicroStrategy. I don't give a shit about the Bitcoin ETFs. They're good for the price appreciation of Bitcoin because it allows more people to get exposure to Bitcoin. And hopefully, by buying their shares and by buying that ETF, supposedly Bitcoin is supposed to be brought at the back end. But I'm skeptical of how much Bitcoin both MicroStrategy have and the ETFs have. Because at the moment, they're supposed to have brought hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin in the last couple of years. And if that actually happened, we should be at 250K already.
Yeah.
So there's some dodgy stuff happening behind the scenes there. I think there's definitely some IOUs. So are we just opening ourselves up to, oh, billions are going to come flying into 21? Everybody inside that company gets rich. And do they actually buy Bitcoin with the money, or do they just pretend that they did?
I just see this as a another opportunity where we look at a guy who we think is a good guy and it goes wrong, and then there's a rug pull, and the people who are in get hurt once again because they can't just simply do what we've been asking them to do and self custody themselves.
Yeah. Well, ultimately, we know that if you don't self-custody, that you're going to get fucked in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at some point in the next 50 years or 34 years,
Yeah.
all these like pretend companies, it's over, right? Because they're all listed in fiat and it's all based on the existing financial market. So only invest in them for, well, less than 34 years. But yeah, yeah. No, I think fuck yeah. And the Financial Times was so it's sarcastic best, I think. So it basically went, so in short, a company made of Bitcoin, they'll issue debt or equity to buy more Bitcoin, with presumably the aim of either making its price rise or not fall. Alongside these core functions, it will also create education material about Bitcoin, acts as a content partner and advisor to other people who are interested in Bitcoin. Diversified, this is not. And yeah, 21 will be piloted by Jack Mallers, a 31-year-old, or for some reason dressed as a 14-year-old being dragged to the shops by his mum. You just like, is this really an NFT article?
But this is funny as well in the fact that like when people ask me, "Oh, do you invest in Coinbase or MicroStrategy and others?" Like I'm like, no, I just invest in the actual asset itself, and this would then again fall into that same category of, yeah, I wouldn't go down that route. Why do I need to invest in that when I can just invest in the real thing?
Exactly. And that because I think it's one of them, in it? Because the problem is like MicroStrategy, like their share price has gone fucking crazy. So I can see
Yeah,
other investors like SoftBank, they're the ones that have funded WeWork and Uber, and they're that Chinese company that just invests in everything and it just goes to the fucking moon. So I can see why they want a Bitcoin play. So that's bullish.
yeah, yeah,
That they can see the gains, and so they've just gone, well, we want in. Like that MicroStrategy gains are nuts, and they've done that being a bit of a Frankenstein company. You know, like who are they? Are they a software company? Are they a Bitcoin company? And at the moment, no, Saylor isn't willing to cut off the software, but I think really he should. He should he should part ways with the software part, push that
yeah.
back into MicroStrategy, and just carve off the Bitcoin bit, and then he can compete against 21, right? Because he is a 21 again. They're the same, and it just go you just buying Bitcoin when
Yeah.
if you want, and then so for people like me, for example, I have a small pension pot that I stupidly created when I was young and stupid. I could allocate that to MicroStrategy or 21 and be fine. I can't sell it until I'm fucking 50 odd or whatever it is. I might as well just pin it to the price of Bitcoin. And if the fiat world collapses before then, it collapses before then. I tried my best, but I tied that money into that fiat system. It's my stupidity tax. I'll take the loss. But yeah, for anybody else coming in fresh now, like I'm not putting a penny in any of these companies. I'm just not. I don't give a fuck.
Correct.
So I don't
Correct.
know. It is
But
uncomfortable.
so I'm thinking about this in term and literally processing in my head of like, the whole fact that there's not been that many copycats of, yes, Tesla invested in Bitcoin to a certain extent, and then obviously MicroStrategy is one of the largest, well known. Is is this kind of like the new play of, okay, maybe we need more companies investing into Bitcoin so it encourages others to invest into Bitcoin this way and kind of show them the blueprint of this is how you do it. And maybe again, like I appreciate there's a lot of red tape around how you invest into Bitcoin. but maybe they kind of remove all of that.
Yeah. Do you know what this is? The penny just dropped actually. You know when I used to log into Coinbase,
Yeah,
there was three coins listed. It was Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum.
yeah, yeah. I remember the days. Yeah,
And it was basically there's no competition because there was Bitcoin and then there was two shit coins on there. And so clearly when the idiots all sign up, they come in to buy Bitcoin, they get distracted and they see the unit bias and they just buy a shit coin instead sometimes. Yeah. And
yeah,
I remember seeing that and going, all right, I'm going to, you know what? I know Bitcoin's my forever coin, but you know what? I'll buy a bit of Litecoin, I'll buy a bit of Ethereum because I know
correct.
idiots are going to come in and they're going to pump these things. And they did. And I made the gains, convert to Bitcoin. Great. Easy trade. This is happening in IPO land, isn't it? Where at the moment you log in to the stock exchange, you want exposure to Bitcoin.
Yeah,
There's a couple of ETFs,
yeah,
MicroStrategy. Now there's going to be 21. And then I guess over time, they'll just be because yeah, if you log into Coinbase now, there ain't three coins. There's 300 of things.
Jesus,
And suddenly,
300. Yeah,
like the odds on any of them pumping now is near zero, right? Because it used to be, oh, if a new coin gets listed on Coinbase and it's going to be less than $1 per coin, it's going to go fucking nuts because it
yeah,
doesn't matter how many of them there are. No one looks at market cap. They just go, that's $1. Bitcoin's $1,000. It might 1000x, but they don't realize there's only 21 million Bitcoin and 100 trillion of the other one, right? They're idiots. So I guess this is just the start of that. Maybe that's what we're at the start of, and all we need now is another 100 companies to do the same thing, and then suddenly all these companies that are appreciating faster than the price of Bitcoin, it will stop because the market will saturate, commoditize. And
yeah,
suddenly now, all the people that want exposure to the Bitcoin price, all these companies just stabilize at the Bitcoin price. It's not going to go faster because it can't, right? Because it's
hmm,
the only reason MicroStrategy did is that they were the only company on the stock market that you could buy that was pretty much a 100% Bitcoin
yep,
appreciation buy. So once you have 21, then you have company A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Suddenly you go, oh right, they all just become the same. So I guess in reality it's just part of Bitcoin growing up and it's good because we shouldn't have a Bitcoin company that all they do is buy Bitcoin go up faster than the price of Bitcoin. That's what's broken. And MicroStrategy did do that. So this is just, I guess, the market maturing. Um, Everybody's getting greedy, trying to capitalize on those gains. And yeah, I guess it's fine. But probably the biggest disappointment really when I look at it and I really think about it is Jack Mallers being associated to this.
yes,
He's clearly getting a fat check, of course he is, and he's probably getting the potential to earn billions off this type of play. So I don't blame him. But
And also I think maybe for years because he's been trying to push Strike for years, which I never really understood how that makes money and is profitable, other than it just being decent tech to allow people to obviously transfer currency. I use the word currency, whether it's crypto or fiat, either way, vice versa. Super, super easy. But I didn't actually see the model of how it makes money because
yeah,
he was either giving it away for free
he was.
or, yeah, yeah. And so
It was near
I'm just like,
0% fees on both ends.
yeah, exactly. So now maybe this is just like, yeah, you're a good guy. we've come up with a strategy and a solution that actually makes money, it moves away from your morals and ethics. But and he's like, yeah, I've done the free stuff. I've given my all.
Yeah.
This is this is the cash cow now.
Yeah.
Time to cash out.
I, yeah, this chat's been great. I think we literally settled on that's the answer, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's literally just Jack's way of making some money. He's added a lot of great stuff to the Bitcoin community via Strike. His business model always sucked on that, but he always thought that the price of Bitcoin was going to go up by so much it wouldn't matter. And
Yeah.
since he's launched Strike, the Bitcoin price hasn't gone up kind of too crazy. So I think he's had this opportunity to come along. He's going like, you know what, fuck it. Let's just cash in, make a quick billy, and then
Yeah.
be a bit of a sailor. And I can go back to my, hopefully anyway, can go back to my original Bitcoin dream and just continue to push Strike. Yeah, he's probably doing that. And in reality, if this is the blueprint, right? If I had to start a company tomorrow and could give a shit about the regulation, the compliance, and that kind of stuff, I'd just start this company.
Yeah.
I just start a company that buys Bitcoin and raises debt to buy more Bitcoin. Piece of piss. Talking about companies that only fucking buy Bitcoin to pump their share price. MicroStrategy. And to be honest,
Here we
this is
go
old.
again.
We're on the 6th of May now, and this is April 2028. And they bought 15,000 Bitcoin for 1.42 billion at 92k a coin. So as of 27th of April, they own 553,000 Bitcoin acquired for 37 billion, basically 38 billion. It's 68k per coin. And to be honest, this is obviously, we didn't do a pod last week. This is old, right? They
But
freaking,
it's
they fucking, the crazy fucking wanker bought more. So here he is, May 5th, yesterday. He bought another 1,895 Bitcoin for 180 million at an average of 95k a coin. So he now owns 555,000 Bitcoin worth 38 billion. It's 68k a Bitcoin. And
it's crazy.
yeah, and the
Absolutely crazy.
yeah, it's yeah, you can't keep up with the guy. He is raising debt on debt on debt and supposedly buying Bitcoin. And so Wild Panda has a great tweet here, which is he bought 15,000 Bitcoin, and this is last week, and the price barely moved. And it's so true because the price is at 92k here, right? When he brought, and well, it's a week later now, or over a week later, and we're at 95k a coin, which it's just normal variance for a weekly thing, right? It's something odd is going on where the memes are starting to get a little bit out of control, where it's got pictures of Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, going, here's an IOU for 553,000 Bitcoin. Does he even have it? Has he got proof of reserves? And yeah, and it leads to tweets like this as well, which is Saylor's doubling down. He used to have a 21-21 plan where he was going to buy basically 21 million Bitcoin by raising something like 21 billion. I can't even remember what his fucking plan is. But basically he's doubled it. So it's a 42-42 plan because
It was, yeah,
he became oversubscribed or something.
that's right.
And yeah, and this guy just kind of starts to detail that out really, which is it basically is this a grift? Because he's starting like say they're starting to promise people 10% interest a year, and that's very dangerous. It also is a sign of a Ponzi when they start guaranteeing
Yep.
interest. Nobody can guarantee interest. Obviously, anyone coming into Bitcoin that expects a certain percent gain per year will go find a different asset. Like, you'll have 1 year where you make 1,000%, and then the next 3 years you'll lose, 50% a year. Right? It's welcome to the bear market, and then boom, here's the bull market, right? So we don't guarantee you, 10, 20, 30, 40% a year. It's like, no, there's no guarantees. We think this is the best performing asset of our generation, will continue to be so, but no guarantees. We might be wrong. And Saylor's starting to make guarantees on his shares. If you invest in MicroStrategy, then these kind of things can happen. And yeah, like the dilution is nuts, right? Um, and he basically wants
That's
to buy, instead of 21 billion Bitcoin, he wants to buy 42 billion Bitcoin. And apparently he's already got 20 billion of unsold preferred remaining on the previous plan. And he's doubled it.
yeah, yeah.
It it's kind of
That's the crazy thing. Yeah. So 21 became 42.
yeah, yeah. And in the space of months, right? Less than six. Less than six.
Yeah.
I'm probably being generous. It might be less than three. I don't know when the 21-21 plan came out, but it wasn't that long ago. And it's starting to get to the point where obviously we've had him on here for a while now. Instead of the Giga Chad, we've renamed it to the Giga Cuck.
Yeah.
This does almost feel like the next Bitcoin FTX is going
Yep.
to be MicroStrategy going pop.
Yep.
He's sailing too fast to the sun. He's going to get burnt.
Leveraging to something so preposterous. It's literally like, yeah, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it so much. It's ridiculous. Yeah, because there's no going back. There's no like, oh, we can just lose a bit. It literally is all or nothing.
Yeah. And the problem is, it's like this guy says, right? There's no cash flow in this business because
No.
because because in reality, the business makes something like 200 million a year. And to be fair, I think a lot of it is profit, but that's nothing when you're raising 42 billion in debt. It's nothing. 200 million doesn't touch the side. You could have the best fucking sales year of your life. If Bitcoin drops by 50%,
Yep.
you're fucking dead, bro. And
But he's ready to cover it, and he was buying in crypto winter as well.
he was, but not at these rates.
Not at these rates. No.
Like he's buying
No.
billions now, right? Like I don't know, like if it went over your head when we talked about how much he bought then. 1.4 billion. Like he was buying 20 million here, 100 million there during the bear market. Once we get near 100K, oh, now I'm going to up it to a billion. You're
Yeah.
like, dude, like when we're down like near 20, 30K, that's when you should be loading up the billion. Now at 100K, ain't like I must admit, like I'm still fucking obviously, as we go back to the start of this podcast, I'm still massively bullish, right? We're going to a milli, but Christ, this is you're so far over 100% at this
Yeah.
point. I think he's like at 1,000%, not if not 2,000%. And you go, once you start leveraging this far long, it only takes you to be wrong for a couple of years for you to
Yeah.
pop.
Absolutely.
It's just silly. Like it's just he's just gone. For me, he's gone too far, and I wouldn't
And
give
the,
like if he's going to go bust. I wouldn't give a shit. The problem is he's supposedly buying this much Bitcoin. He's not though, because the price ain't going up.
yeah,
So I think Coinbase are giving him IOUs. So I'm not like the amount of times I go on say this tweets, right? And I've tweeted him numerous times going, proof of reserves, proof of reserves. And he has refused to acknowledge any of us
no, I
to go,
remember.
show me the fucking address that has 555,000 Bitcoin in it. Show us the fucking money, bro. He just
Yeah,
he's silent. He just completely ignores it. And 2 days later, bought another billion. You're like, are you going to prove where the other billions were? 2 days later, bought another billion.
is it? Is oh, I know we might not know, but is it the same bank that is lending him all of the same money as well in terms
Well,
of these loans?
he's lending it off his shares. So because his share price has gone up by so much, he's basically diluting
Right.
taking the money out of the shares, diluting his shareholders, buying more Bitcoin, and then every
Oh wow.
dilutes them again. Share price pump
Wow.
dilutes them again, and the shareholders are going dilute us harder, daddy.
Yeah. I don't know what to say to that because it's just so reckless. Because company could go down. Technology and the rate of technology and the change of technology these days is just even scarier month on month in. So that could easily stop the business and we could go through crypto winter once again.
Yeah, well, after this year, we probably will.
Yeah.
So the only difference is that like he's probably bought enough at this rate. Who knows? Maybe he's a fucking genius, right? We end up going to milli this cycle and we never go below his average. It could well be.
Mm,
Could well be. But yeah. It does look like the reckless behavior of someone that has had a share price go up by 20x that are just all these people that just want exposure to the Bitcoin price, don't want to take self-custody, just want to buy MicroStrategy. They're willing to accept the share dilution at nearly any rate,
but also as
provided
well,
they just keep leveraging up on Bitcoin, which is
it, it'll,
what it
it
shows.
it just goes to show that the people that are looking at this or investing into MicroStrategy, it's just classic. They're not even doing the work because if they were doing the work, they would be questioning why isn't the price of Bitcoin going up if all of these people are buying Bitcoin or his shares. So yeah, it's just like the classic phrase of the fool and the way that his money is parted in the way that they part with their money. It's like these people deserve to get wrecked.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's the only way I can see it happening. But
Yeah,
but hey, the good thing
right.
is I don't think MicroStrategy is a massive name. So I think even if it went bust, and also the positive thing should be is if what we all suspect is true, which is that they don't own much Bitcoin really, if they did go bust, it's not like 500,000 Bitcoin comes on the market for sale.
Mm,
I don't think it does. I don't think they
no, it's just lost.
I don't well, I don't think they have it. That's the brutal reality. If I really went into their proof of reserves, I'd be amazed if there was more than 10% of that actually in the reserves. And because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. It's
No.
it's just odd if that much Bitcoin has been brought. Because I saw someone tweet the other day about like how much Bitcoin has been produced by the network in the last couple of years and how much has been brought by the ETFs and MicroStrategy, and it outpaces it by 10x. So you go, how has the price not moved by more than it has? If that's the case, right? Because just to keep the price the same, you need to be the amount of Bitcoin that comes out of the network on each block needs to be purchased, and less needs to be of that needs to be sold. So you need that to be equal just to keep the price the same. But when the buying pressure is 10x the sell pressure, you usually get more than a 10x differentiation on price. And we have not had a close to a 10x in the last 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
So something is up. So my suspicion is MicroStrategy and the ETFs do not hold the amount of Bitcoin they claim to hold. It's the only rational explanation.
Yeah, I can't see anything else. Like,
Yeah, because the only other
it's
thing, right, is it's doing OTC, so over the counter, right? That's the only other way where you've got a couple of Bitcoin whales that will go, oh yeah, I've got hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin. Don't want to shove it on Coinbase. I'll just transfer it to MicroStrategy's account. So that doesn't move the price at all, right? If I'm sat here with
mm,
40 billion worth of Bitcoin, I can sell 5 billion to MicroStrategy over the next 6 months, and the price won't move because it's just me to him.
hmm
Put it through the exchange. So I do get that argument, but by the time you get to 500,000 Bitcoin, I'm like, are they honestly buying all this OTC? Really? Maybe they are. I don't know.
But then you could say the same for BlackRock as well.
Yeah.
In terms of, because I was just thinking the same of like in the last, let's say, 12 to 18 months max, between BlackRock and MicroStrategy, they bought up a lot of Bitcoin outside of the normal everyday Bitcoin that you and I might buy, an average retail investor. So someone is buying all of this up and putting in a lot of money because that M2 money is being taken away from other assets. So why isn't it reflecting in the price? The price should be squeezed so hard now, right now, and be double, triple of where it should be in comparison to where it's actually at.
But it ain't.
Yeah, I don't have an explanation for it.
Yeah, I think in reality, we're only going to find out in a couple of years, I think.
Yeah.
It'll either all work out and they'll be legit, or it'll be one hell of a Ponzi collapse.
Yeah.
And to a certain extent, I don't think it really matters either way, like which way it goes. Like obviously Bitcoin doesn't care, but I would like things like MicroStrategy to actually be legit. I actually would love to think that they actually are buying their Bitcoin. Obviously, we know they're buying it through Coinbase, which of all the exchanges they could have picked is probably the worst one, but I'd like to think that they at least were buying Bitcoin like properly. Like the easy
Mm,
ones, you kind of go, well, yeah, of course they're fucking not. Why would they? They don't need to fucking buy Bitcoin, do they? They're not idiots. They can just take consumers' money and just bank it, and at some point go, oh, yeah,
yeah.
nah, just nah.
Nah. Yeah. Nah. No, I can't think of any other way. But that is always what we've said in terms of like the government are late to the party, and this has always been a thing with Bitcoin in the fact that the average person was able to get ahead of, let's say, the old money or investment money and stuff like that. So for them to get back on an even keel, they would have to steal it. And this is probably obviously a great way for them to be able to steal it.
Great. Should we move to our next story?
Let's do it.
So we have the
So,
hardware wallet. Do you want to talk us through it?
yeah, sure. Just pull it up. So we do like to review tech when it comes out, and I do think that this is something that maybe we don't cover off, but there used to be a really hard time, obviously, in terms of buying Bitcoin, in terms of how fast the network moved. But I think we don't give enough credit for all the other fringe things that happen in the background that are related to Bitcoin. So there are new wallets that help the industry. The industry is, I will say, probably, the best that it's been ever right now and will continue to get better. And things like the new hardware wallets, such as Seed Signer Premium, will help with regards to that. And that's what we've got here. So inside of it, it's got your box, um, the SD card, and then ultimately a LCD screen to be able to see where everything is up to. What's your thoughts on it?
Man, I must admit, I really like it. It's one of those products that you kind of look at and go, well, obviously, I must admit, I wrote a comment on here somewhere. Here we are. So here's my comment going, yeah, we needed an Apple brand in Bitcoin for ages. I got excited when Jack Dorsey was saying he was going to design a hardware wallet, and yeah, and for €300, it's a premium, but if it does bring the user experience to Bitcoin, then yeah, who knows? And
Yeah,
replied to me going, yeah, €300 is a lot, but quite acceptable. Great for people that have over 100K in Bitcoin. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. People pay like €1,000 for a phone. So
yeah,
300 to €600 if you're gonna have two. Because in reality, you need two, right? Whenever you see one thing for a price, you always have to have two in case one fails, right? So you got to have
always.
backup. That's just like absolute fucking child's play. So yeah, so I didn't mind it. And where is it? Because he does post. Here it is. So the product bundle is here, and it looks nice. Yeah, and it is €300. So it's significantly more than normal. But I like the Faraday box. I really like that because obviously anyone that doesn't know what a Faraday box is, basically it means that no electronic signal can get in or out of that box. So if it arrives in that box and you keep it in that box, it basically means that if anybody is inside your property or is close to your property, in theory, they could communicate with electronic devices within your property, and that includes your hardware wallet. Now, hardware wallets need to be powered and all that kind of stuff, so it is very difficult to communicate with a hardware wallet without it being powered, but it could be identified. So if a government entity was to search your property with an electronic signal, they could find your hardware wallets,
Mm,
how well you hide them. However, if it's in a Faraday box, they would not. They wouldn't be able to get a signal off something inside a Faraday box. So I must admit, I quite like it. Um, I haven't heard of these guys before. I literally only saw this tweet today. So I am not currently a buyer of the product, but I'm very fucking tempted. Because like we've always said, right, it's all about the user experience, and I think we need a bit an Apple in Bitcoin land. And fair play to this
Yeah,
guy, because if you look at his website, um, which I can show you anyway, so you don't need to actually look at his website. But if I look at his products, he's been selling very normal products up until now. So we've actually, I think, reviewed this passport one before.
yeah,
He's got a Keystone Pro. This is a Seed Signer Premium version 2, 180 euro. And so basically what he's kind of done really is taken this Seed Signer Pro 2 and he's made it black, put it in a box, and basically charged that extra 120 euro for it. And look, some of it's marketing, of course it is, but holy shit, how much of Apple is marketing? So much,
yeah.
so much.
Uh,
So
uh,
I don't, I kind of love it. Obviously, I don't know the logistics. I don't know how secure these hardware wallets are. I don't know anything about the founder. I was reading some of the comments and people going, "Oh, it's got preloaded hardware and firmware on it, and you can't change it," which doesn't sound great. But then we're trying to get mass adoption here, right? We're trying to get our
yep,
everyday person that just stumbles across Bitcoin one day, goes, "Yep, that's for me." And I don't want to buy MicroStrategy. I don't want to buy 21. Don't want to buy an ETF. I want to self-custody. And I'm not technical. So I want it to be walked through step by step, simple as can be. And for that, I'm willing to pay a premium. Because in the day, you can run a hardware wallet for about $10. If you can flash the firmware onto some hardware, you can run a hardware wallet for nearly free, right? If you're a developer. But then if you're the next layer in, which I guess is like us guys really, then you have
yep.
to pay 50 to 100 euros for a hardware wallet. And then I guess if you're the next layer in, maybe you have to pay 300 euros. And then you get an even easier, simpler process to it. My only question would be, is it that much simpler? Because I think he's got the unboxing down because it's like in the Faraday box and all that kind of stuff. But I've got a feeling once you fire up that hardware wallet, it's going to be very, very similar to every other hardware wallet where you still need to write down your 24 words and still have to send a transaction
Oh,
from
uh,
an exchange to it, and it's still going to be scary. And
my thoughts are on the hardware wallets. Like, yeah, ultimately they're all thereabouts all doing the same thing, aren't they? It's like, you're buying a safe, and all of the safes should be safe. Um, some are easier to crack than others, some are cheaper than others, but you just buy the safe that you are most comfortable with.
yeah, I just love the competition, the hardware market.
Yeah,
We just need more. I really hope Jack Dorsey was going to do more, and we
yeah,
just need to push the
he
boundaries
didn't
more. It needs to
ultimately
look
done.
sexy. We need to be able to go in. Look how fucking sexy. Although it's ironic, isn't it? Because you don't want to show off your hardware wallet to fucking anyone because that's essentially
No,
for life savings. So if you're flashing that about, you're a fucking moron. But at the same time, it just needs to feel sexy and it needs to just be super simple to be able to send essentially your life savings to a little device. You put it in a little box, you hide it away somewhere. And Yeah, I think we're getting closer. It's yet another step closer. I mean, when we started this pod, like whatever it was, like 4 or 5 years ago, there was only Legend Nanos pretty much that existed, and
Yep. Yep.
that was it. And now we've probably got a choice of probably about a dozen
I
that
can
are
name, yeah, you got
doing the
Ledger
same thing.
Nano, Trezor, or and not really to say that, but Ledger have various different iterations of Ledger as well. So there's that. Even obviously it's coming from the same brand.
Yeah,
But yeah,
we just need more. We just need more. And the biggest problem about launching hardware in Bitcoin is making it profitable. So people keep going. So often
yeah.
new hardware gets launched and then they sell a couple of hundred and then that's it. So they ultimately go bust and they discontinue it. So yeah, I think it's good that someone's trying to step out and go, this is the thing. It's brave and again they're getting a load of shit in the comments as always for various things that they do wrong and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, if you're going to buy one, don't just shove all your fucking Bitcoin on it straight away. Just put a little bit, base, da da da. But but yeah, it's we need a competitive market. Just as like clearly 21 is competing with the companies to own Bitcoin and pump their share price. We need competition in hard wallets as well. Cool. And then our last story, by the way, is a total troll.
uh, I was going to say that. Yeah, what do you notice? Like, I was thinking, I don't really notice too much. I've looked at the picture and it's a young Elon Musk with a friend, both at a computer with, well, an old school computer with floppy disks.
What is on this screen?
I can't see that.
Well,
Is it the Bitcoin white paper?
boom.
Dude, yeah, there we go.
So it is indeed. So yeah, I love the fact you got it just by me asking you what was on the screen. 'Cause
Yeah, yeah,
you can almost just by the formatting, yeah,
yes, that was
Bitcoin
it.
peer-to-peer Bitcoin payment network, and then you got the headings, and then it goes into the paragraphs. Now it's totally edited. It's this this picture is from something like 1990 of Elon and his co-founder working on an early internet startup, and obviously Bitcoin white paper doesn't get launched until nearly 20 years later.
2008. Yeah, 2008,
Um,
August.
but yeah, this little tweet just passed me by, and yeah, it's from this naive guy saying, "What do you notice?" And the second I looked at this image, my heart dropped. Literally, I was like, "That's the Bitcoin white paper. That isn't very young Elon. Oh my God, he's Satoshi." And then I went, "Hold on a second." I zoomed in and I realized this is edited to fuck. It's quite a good edit.
Yeah,
It's not that,
yeah.
and yeah, it's yeah, kind of funny. So I just thought I'd throw it in there for a bit of lols for the end because it did make my heart stop today. I thought, holy shit, this is ca categoric evidence that here's Bitcoin, here's Elon working on the Bitcoin white paper without realizing it. He's being photographed, and yeah, this is crazy. Oh my God. And then I realized I zoomed in a little bit and went, "You fuckers!" Like basically the pixels on the screen are so much clearer than the pixels on the rest of the image. You go,
Yeah,
nope,
psych.
it's totally
You've had me.
photoshopped. They're working on. I think it's Zip 2 is what they're working on, which was
That was it.
the original Google Maps for the internet. So they were not working on the Bitcoin white paper. They're working on Zip 2, but it's like a little bit of fun.
Right. That is our conclusion to Pod 169. Bullish Bitcoin banter and bullshit, brought to you by Mr. All-In, aka the $1 trillion man, myself, so Neverlook, aka the excellence of execution. We don't have Dr. Evil 10%, aka the People's Champ, or Mrs. No Show, because she is a no show. We have an internal competition, which is whoever turns up the most will be getting a free steak. I think we're the winners so far. So yeah, let's continue on with this, or we'll take Bitcoin donations to get us there as viewers and listeners. But this has been another show. Peace out.